Hello, everyone. Welcome to the
Hi.
My Amazon Guide PPC AMA every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Today on the pod, I have with me Joe Foreman, who you may have seen on Jason's Friday podcast. He's so graciously accepted my invitation to be on the PPC podcast.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm gonna look like a goofball next to you.
A goofball. I don't think
Yeah.
that's possible. I'm the
Well.
biggest goofball. No competition. So a little backstory. So Joe used to be my intern only a few months ago. And, in only a few months, he's gone from brand manager intern to now he's an account director like myself. Claps all around. So, just goes to show, if you're eager and, take advantage of all of the learning materials that we do have here at MAG. Shout out MAG School for all those great courses and everything like that. We're also both DSP certified, subtle flex there. But yeah, I'm really excited to get into the questions today.
Let's do it. We're gonna have probably a special guest in the form of Clementine
I'm
here.
so excited to watch. They go crazy when they have an audience.
They really do.
Okay. Hi, Mag team. Hi, Wake Monkey. How you doing? I have an issue. I do not rank organically at all for my main keywords, cacao nibs, in the 7 pages only sponsored. I have the keywords in the title, product description, crawlable text, and image text. What are your thoughts here?
We need sales. I mean, if we want to rank organically, we need sales. It's great that you have them in a title description and crawlable text, right? Because that's going to be your main contribution to where Amazon's pulling from organically. But we need to get sales one way. Check your price, check your competitors, see what they're doing. I mean, there's a few things that could happen here. It's great that you have keywords going for them and you're ranking sponsored. That's awesome. That's a start because PPC is king on Amazon and it's going to get you that traction you need to kind of start ranking organically. But the main goal is you got to push sales somehow.
I'd be really interested to know what kind of product this is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe your own KPI isn't as narrow as it could be, right? Cacao nibs, that's a really broad keyword. That could be related to, food stuff. It could be related to like supplement stuff, if that's like an ingredient you have in there. Like there really is such a broad kind of way that you could search for something like this. I'd look to maybe narrow in on a keyword that's number one, a little less expensive. An exact match probably. That's probably an expensive one. And I'd look to see, cacao nibs, for cooking or for.
Yeah, is this a pet product? Because I see cacao a lot in like pet, like doggy chocolate, because it's the doggy replacement for chocolate. So I wonder.
Yeah, right.
Where can we go with this?
What kind of so cacao nibs for dogs, like I think there's a long tail keyword probably that we could look at narrowing in to a little bit more. Even though cacao nibs is probably the most like broad sense of the word that you're going after, right? But yeah, agreed with Joe. Sales volume is really the ultimate driver for BSR, especially. That's how a lot of people look at organic kind of success is with BSR, and then obviously organic rank and stuff like that as well. Keyword counts as well. You can use Helium 10, Cerebro, look up your product. But that's our suggestion there. But if you have any additional insight, leave it in the comments.
Cerebro is a good tool too because it's going to give you an idea of how many sales you're going to need to get to that first page. There's a little metric, like CPR, CPM, something, one of those two. Yeah. It's something like that. It's CP something.
CPM is cost per impression. The M is actually, so it's probably, CPM.
But that'll tell you, it'll give you like a number of how many sales you need within the next 8 days to get to that first page. And you can run with that information. This is a new product. Maybe lower your price for a little bit and then gradually increase it to gain that organic traction.
run a promotion or see if there's anything you can do with your list price, right? And to get some kind of strike through.
Mhm.
If you've sold previously at a higher price before, all good organic strategies. Okay, moving on. So this person, Nikki F91, is following up that question. What does it take to rank organically on keywords? Is it just sales from those keywords? Does Amazon rank organically without sales only in honeymoon period? So I think we kind of answered this already. But I think the short answer is it's not just sales. There's a lot that kind of goes into ranking organically. We were just kind of focusing on sales, I think,
Mhm.
because Wake Monkey here is saying that they've pulled out all of the other stops, right? As far as like the titles and descriptions, bullets, alt text probably as well.
Yeah. Sales are going to be your biggest driver. But there's a lot you can do here. And another thing to keep in mind, right, is like Amazon's never going to tell us what their algorithm does or why it does it. But if it's similar categories, similar products, Amazon will start linking your products up based on just the words that are in your title, the words that are in your description and bullets and all of that. If it sounds like this product, Amazon may throw it, into this section. Check your categories, check, all that stuff is going to play a part here.
Definitely. Yeah. And you'd be surprised sometimes. Always check your search query performance report as far as like what other additional keywords like you could potentially be putting into your listings.
Like juice. Is that disconnect on me? I don't think so. Let me send it. Oh no. Okay. So I'll cover this for a minute. Until she comes back here. So if we want to expand on that, your categories are going to play an important part in where Amazon thinks you're going to go organically. It could be that I've seen a lot of issues here, right? She mentioned SQP, but I've seen issues with Amazon kind of placing products in a category that sounds like it matches the title. Check your category. Does your product and check your competitors? Do your products kind of fall into that category with your competitors or with your product? For example, I had someone do like gift sets, and for some reason, Amazon placed them in stationery. Who knows why, right? But that's going to affect your organic ranking, right? And maybe maybe people start buying your product if you're in the wrong category and you start ranking high organically, but is that really where you want to be? So check categories, check your SQP, like Marissa was mentioning. So your SQP, you can find a lot of opportunities there, especially if you have a week with like a huge like growth in sales and you don't know why. Um, you know, Prime Week, something like that. Go back and look. What traffic did your category, did your brand, did your product see? And then kind of just go from there. You could find some opportunities. For example, if you're selling like a juice product, and I was kind of teeing up Marissa to talk about this, but she had, there she is. She's
I'm back.
back. I was talking about your juice product client,
Yeah.
the
For
mixer.
secondary.
Mm-hmm.
That was crazy. And my Wi-Fi just like randomly went out. So
Oh no, I did it again. All right, I'll continue the story. Juice product is is meant like their main target audience is like was an elderly, like an elderly demographic, right? But
I don't know.
but
I'll go out
but
again.
hey, it happens. But she found out that people were using it as mixers, for alcoholic drinks, and so there's a whole other demographic you could start targeting and get sales in.
I love that story.
It's a great story.
It is a good story because they were bewildered. They were like, "No way, that's what people are using it for." So
had something very similar happen to a client regarding straws for sippy cups. Turns out it's great for bars too, apparently, because that's where found a lot of stuff. And it's like I guess maybe silly, maybe party favorite idea. Maybe that's why. But
no, because I mean, in a lot of states, like even like plastic straws and stuff like that are like illegal now.
that's a good yeah.
Like I can't even have like grocery bags. I have to bring my own now. So there is more of a need or a want, desire for products like that. And as an Amazon seller, you can fill that need, right? So
yeah.
Okay, next question. I have a listing with variations, and I want Amazon to show all my variations in product targeting spots. So how can I do that? I want to show all variations, not a single one. I'm not 1,000% sure what this means, to be honest. So you want to place your variations. Are you talking about like search, like having all of your variations show up separately, like in search, so that you're taking up more spots in the sponsored section? Or are we talking about like products targeting like on other people's products and having like all of the variations show up below, you know what I mean, their listing?
Or defensive wise, having it show up all on your listing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More context, please. What is the best product launch PPC strategy that you use?
Look, I'm a pro of full send it if you can. I mean, look, this is going to be kind of crazy, probably advice, but I mean, auto campaigns, find out what you can get. If you already know kind of the category, for example, if you're launching a product that's similar to what you already have, but obviously it's not part of the variation, or even if it is part of the variation, really, I mean, start pouring money into like those ads that work for the similar products, right? If you use the knowledge that from your current PPC campaigns, and bid high and get, take the top of the search real estate and get that product, out there and visible.
Yeah, we have some clients, honestly, that their listings really aren't in any shape to have advertising done on them immediately. So some people do choose to wait, a few weeks just to get all of their organic stuff set up first. I'm a pretty big proponent of also like full sending it and just, going for it. Because the faster you kind of build some history within your like campaigns and that kind of thing, the better they're going to do. However, a lot, you can only do so much with advertising. And that's what I tell a lot of our PPC only clients. There's only so much that, I can set up for your, listings and so many, product targets I can go after if everybody else's product display pages look better, insert John Aspinall here for CTR, but it's true, right? If everybody else's main image is 1,000 times better than yours, or even infographics, copy, A+, right? That can be the deciding factor between what people choose to go with, right?
Yeah, PPC is king, but CTR is queen, and Vine is that little bard that announces your arrival. I mean, Vine's going to help you a lot here too.
We have one client right now who, they sell these great products, like educational products. I'm obsessed with them, but unfortunately they don't have that many reviews, and it's just hard to convince other people to be obsessed with them because they just don't have the social proof. And as much as, Amazon is reverting to not showing the full stars anymore in search. I know that was a breaking news moment there. With only doing 4+ stars or showing that in search. People still look at it when they're on the actual listing page, right? If you only have like 3 reviews, and even if most of them are positive, there's just not a lot of social proof there, or even other kind of experiences as far as what the product is like and that kind of thing. you know? So I always recommend bind. I usually recommend bind. It's kind of, if you're selling a subjective product with like a taste or smell, it can get a little dicey there. But, um, you know, I say full send it as
Yeah.
long as your listings look pretty good.
Mhm.
So all things considered, right? There are always things we can improve on a listing, but as long as it's like 90% there, go for it.
Yeah. 100%.
When exactly does cannibalization occur in PPC? What if I have the same targeting an auto campaign and a manual campaign?
I mean, then you're cannibalizing. I look at your matches. I mean, are we talking exact and match, or sorry, exact and broad, or I mean, that's also important to kind of take into effect here. And also, um, do you have a variation? Are you advertising multiple childs in this variation, and do they all have kind of similar results? If they have similar results, you're probably cannibalizing. That's kind of my take on, when does it occur? It occurs when you have multiple products that are in a variation with similar just results, click-through rate, conversions, whatever. And then also if you have multiple targeting, like exact matches, broad matches, like your match type.
Yeah, and I mean, it'll tell on you too. Like if your suggested bids are the exact same across like multiple campaigns, like
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Amazon's telling on itself. You're being placed in the same spaces for the same types of search behaviors. Um, so try to refine a little bit, like what exactly you're going after and diversify your campaigns a little bit, right? You can do audience targeting, which a lot of
Mhm.
people don't do surprisingly. You can like target different categories, right? And you can even refine them. And, if your product is $300, you obviously do not want to be going after the products that are made in China that are like $10, right? It's like apples and oranges,
Mhm.
right? There's a lot of fine tuning that you can do so that cannibalization doesn't happen. Because I feel like it's really it has to be it's not an intentional thing, right? When people say cannibalization, it's not because they're trying to do it.
Right.
If you are trying to test something or you want to find out more information, um, there's no harm in doing that if it's
Yeah.
it's providing you some kind of value. But if you're just kind of throwing keywords in there all over the place and some of them are the same and there's some duplicates here and it's not strategic, then I think you can run into some cannibalization efforts. Joe, I'm also thinking of one of your clients, right? We built up their branded keywords,
Mhm.
right? To such a point that their Skew economics, like it was very visible, right?
Mhm.
That there was some cannibalization happening because
Right.
we had done so much to actually build that listing up that it didn't need all that advertising anymore. It was good on its own,
Mhm.
practically. And we could actually shift that spend to other variations, like you were saying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very helpful to kind of look at that skew economics that Amazon offers you, because you may find out that um, if you're advertising multiple variations, or even if you're just advertising one, look at like that product's like tacos, because that product may be getting so much credit for basically everything in your catalog, especially if it's set up in like a large variation. So that information. And another thing I want to add on here too is like, what does cannibalization mean to you? Because if you set up a bunch of like defensive campaigns, I wouldn't call that cannibalization. So, but from an outside perspective, someone may see it that way because you're advertising on the same thing across multiple variations. So
Yeah. But if you have a lot of competitors and they're all
hmm
trying to snatch up, real estate on your listings, it makes sense to do that,
yeah.
right? So again, having that intent is what I think is important.
Yeah.
Okay. From Karen, hey guys, would appreciate specific advice, types of Amazon DSPs, specific actionable strategies, targeting types, campaign types, etc. So there's a part 2. SD ads are my least used ad type. In fact, I rarely use them at all. For me, it's 80% SP, 20% SB. Advice on SD ads, best types to run, etc. So kind of a loaded question. We'll go back
hmm
to this part. I love SD ads. I know that's kind of a controversial take, but I do really like them. Joe, what's your opinion here?
I like whatever ad works for you. It's like such a cop-out answer, but like you got to know, and this kind of falls into DSP, and kind of what I was going to say here is you need to know your audience. Some categories perform better, with sponsored products versus sponsored display, and then vice versa. If you're getting a lot of mobile viewers and a lot of and you're in like a very mobile category, you need video ads. Like that's gonna command your space when it comes to sponsored. So that's, without trying to take the cop out answer, that's how I feel. Know your audience and know what's going to work for you.
Yeah, like young people most prominently are using their phones, right? Yep. They're not using Amazon desktop, right? With that said too, I know I always kind of say this, but people's attention spans, not great. They're scrolling. They are looking for, you've got maybe 2 seconds of somebody's full attention before they're scrolling to the next thing. I think videos are really great for a product that maybe has a learning curve for sure, right? So if you're marketing like a new invention or a new type of product that fulfills a need, you need to be showing how to use it in the first few frames of the video, without a doubt, right? And then beyond that, like showing people actually using it in a real life setting and that kind of thing. Doesn't have to be the most professional video in the whole wide world. It doesn't have to have like an orchestra in the background and be like, it is accessible to make a video. Anybody can do it. There are programs and you can put together stuff on Canva and stuff, I'm sure. And I think Amazon will actually create videos for you.
I've been seeing that.
Yeah. So there is a feature where like Amazon they're not great. They're not the best videos I've ever seen in my whole life, but it might be enough to kind of get the job done, and just, depends on the kind of assets you have. But I always, tend to recommend SC ads. As far as like percentages go, that's going to be really independent for everybody. I can't say, oh, everybody should have 80% sponsored like product and this percentage. It just doesn't work like that, unfortunately. Here at MAG, we always try to have a few sponsored brand like header ads, and you want to diversify a little bit, to make sure that you're showing up in as many spots as possible. Same is kind of, true of DSP, depending on where you want to show up and where your audiences are. What does your audience have, in common with, all of the, publishers and stuff like that Amazon kind of like lets you advertise with, right? If you are selling, a sports product, right, like a golf bag or something like that, obviously, it makes sense to pair up with sports publishers and stuff like that and run ads there. So I think knowing your audience, number one. I think, have you tried SD ads? I feel like a lot of people are just scared to try them. Give them a shot. Even if they're only like 5% of your total, breakdown, it might be time to reel back some of the sponsored product and see what video can do for you. Because especially like the VCPM ones, right? You can have them set to really high bids and they don't spend that much, right? Like some of them, you can set the bids to like $10 or something like that. And they spend like, you'll always have the top bid essentially.
Right.
So if the top bid, is 50 cents, that's, you're really not paying much more than that, right? So I think sometimes it can be more efficient. Obviously, sponsored product is bread and butter for a lot of people, but don't be afraid to experiment.
As always, when you first start running an ad, that ACOS is going to be way higher than you hope it's going to be, and it's going to scare you until you optimize it. But it also takes a minute to grab traction, right? Because Amazon's going to throw it, it's going to test it and it's going to see what works for it, and your ACOS is going to be big, and people are going to click on it until you're optimizing and refining like where your actual audience for this ad's going to be. But another important thing about like video ads that's really going to help you is brand recognition. Get your brand name up there. When people are, especially now that Amazon's going through that thing to where like they're pulling smaller brand names from the front of listings that they're testing. with a video, they're not going to edit your video and take out your brand name. So if you have your brand name in those first few seconds as well, you're helping your brand recognition.
Yeah. No, yeah. And, just remember, DSP gives you more control in a lot of, situations as far as like, day parting, like, which is possible with DSP, where you can't really do that well in the normal Amazon console. It takes a lot more effort and work to manually change all those bids twice a day. Not super sustainable for a lot of people. So, if you have products that sell well, you'd better, during the daytime. That's a huge advantage of DSP. That would work really well for like B2B brands, some industrial kind of brands I know I've seen. They buy for the business, right? And business hours are a 9 to 5, right? So day parting for them makes a lot of sense. Same thing with like, the geo targeting, right? If your product is aimed at people in, really hot climates, it doesn't really make sense to be targeting people in like Minnesota or, you know what I mean, or Maine, during, like October, November, right? Like that it doesn't make sense, right? So you have a whole lot more control within DSP. So that's kind of long-winded answer. I think the summary is expand into SD ads, give them a shot, and know your audience. Don't be afraid to experiment.
Yeah, never stop experimenting, never stop strategizing is something I always tell people. Just try new things, keep trying new things, check your SQP once a month. Find out what's going on here, and definitely try some SD ads.
Definitely. And I know DSP has its own requirements for like creative aspects and stuff like that, and ratios. So just make sure that you're adhering to those as well.
Yeah. Also, just kind of a side note on that, check out Amazon's walkthroughs. Their brains blinking, but their courses on DSP. That's the word. Their courses on DSP, because they'll actually give you some good tips in there on like, this is what your creative should have, because this is what we've observed over the years.
And they're free, guys. They're free. So if you're ever looking to, learn more, the resources are out there.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this is advice that we kind of gave Wake Monkey as far as try ranking for longer tail versions, right? Yep. Definitely great advice, Cheryl. Couldn't agree more. And then Cool Peeps here. Hi, team. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, Cool Peeps. Wondering if you've experimented with any new ad formats that you'd recommend lately. Thanks.
New ad formats. Do you have any?
I was kind of wondering what they were referring to. Only one I can think of, like top of my head, is maybe Attribution. We have messed around with that. We've seen some great results with that, honestly. Yeah. But you have to have strong social media presence outside. So recently I did a brand mastery summit for Kevin Sanderson. If you guys had the opportunity to watch that, one of the courses was, expanding outside of the Amazon fishbowl. So I think that's a really interesting kind of concept as far as like being able to scale your brand outside of just Amazon. I think Attribution is a great way to do that. I think DSP is a great way to do that. Obviously, those two are very different depending on what your budgets look like, because DSP does have the minimum spend requirements and stuff like that. But with that said, I do think it's really important to be, as your business on Amazon is growing, don't just be an Amazon brand. Right. We're seeing, unfortunately, some brands run into getting their brand registry revoked right now. I imagine that's going to be a much bigger topic of discussion on the Friday podcast, because I know a lot of lawyers, trademark lawyers, were removed from a lot of really established brands' brand registry. Nobody's able to point fingers or figure out why or anything like that. No wrongdoing happening. So think about that, right? If you don't have brand registry, you don't have access to sponsored brand ads, sponsored display. You are really limited to, uploading any new listings, right? New A+ content, anything like that, right? So what happens if Amazon goofs, right? You want to still be able to draw in your own traffic and scale, on your own social media, whether that be Instagram, X, formerly Twitter,
Forgot about that.
Facebook, I know, TikTok. We're really trying to expand into TikTok shop right now.
Yep. I was going to say that.
They're moving away from doing the, my link to my shop in the description, or, you know what I mean? And actually having everything on a singular kind of platform, kind of like how Instagram does it with Instagram shop. So attribution for sure. But I just see a lot of people be like, oh, my social media is not great. Why?
You're right.
Why? It's not. I think people overthink it sometimes, as far as like how videos have to look or how images like have to look, or my Instagram feed has to be immaculate before I even do anything. And it's not true. You can, repurpose other people's images, and, do you have some thoughts there?
I was saying, think of how you started on Amazon. If you're currently like an Amazon only business and you want to expand, I mean, how did you start on Amazon? Was everything perfect on day one? Because I bet it wasn't. Use what you have, use what you've gained from Amazon, use that. Like, do you have creatives for Amazon now? Throw those on your social media. I mean, you might as well use them. Those pictures are there, those graphics are there. Basically that, I mean, and attribution is great, right? If you want to run most of your sales through Amazon, I mean, I've seen Amazon always says, oh, we'll give you like 2 to 30% back, right? And what I saw today with someone is they're getting like 10% back. So for every sale they drive to Amazon, Amazon's giving them like a 10% credit. They've made $300 and something. They've got over 30 something in credit. I mean, that's mitigating their FBA fees. That's helping them with their, the campaigns they're running on that may have a slightly higher ACOS. I mean, every little bit helps, right? And that's attribution links are a huge help here.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And, Amazon is always going to keep rising its fees and stuff like that. It's like the number one thing that we hear here. So don't be afraid to fight back a little bit. Get those credits, because they do add up, just like the fees add up, right?
Right. Now, if you are going to sell somewhere else online, make sure it's the same price as Amazon, because if you get it lower, Amazon's going to punish you.
Take away that buy box.
Yep.
Okay. Let's keep it pushing.
Sure.
So from Shahid, how many keywords should we target in phrase and broad match campaign? And furthermore, if we have multiple color variations, then should we add multiple color variations in a single campaign?
You don't want to overcomplicate this, is going to be my answer. How many keywords? I mean, if they're relevant to each other, set yourself a hard cap at like 10, but make sure everything's relevant. You don't want keywords that pertain to one part of your category and then keywords that pertain to another part of your category mushed together. Again, you don't want to overcomplicate this for yourself. And when you go into optimize, if you have all these different keywords in there, it's just going to be a bigger mess to kind of dig through.
Try to make separate ad groups for like each color variation, or because those keywords are going to be a little bit different, right? Like blue, whatever you're selling, like blue pillow, purple pillow, like it's all going to vary a little bit as far as like how people are searching. And this allows you to be a little bit more seasonal with your intent as well, right? Like say we want to go into like the orange variation, almost Halloween time, right? So I would just add in like Halloween keywords and stuff like that to that ad group, and worry about pausing it in beginning of November, but at least then everything is organized. You're not searching through like 60 keywords to find which ones we want to pause and which ones aren't doing well. It does a lot to kind of muddy that data and average everything out. So you want to be really intentional with how you're segmenting.
Yeah.
As far as keyword amounts themselves, we recommend anywhere from like 5 to 10, but 10 is even getting a little bit high.
Yeah.
Really going to depend on the cost per clicks and, bid amounts, right? Like 5 targets can be a lot when you're in like a supplements category, right? Where you're paying like $5 like per bid or something like that, right? So I would say less keywords if they're expensive cost per clicks. Few more keywords if they are cheaper. You're only paying like, a few cents for every kind of keyword. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Now, how would you feel if someone, say, in their category, they're in this ad, some of their cost per clicks is like 30 cents and the other one's like $5? Would you separate those in two different? How would you? Because that 30-cent may have like a 5% ACOS, but that $5 might be like 100% ACOS, and then Amazon's going to make it look very scary.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair question. I think you can like segment by cost per clicks, even if you wanted to, if that makes more sense. For other people, they like the average a little bit. They like to experiment with higher cost per click words and, lower. So I think that just kind of depends on preference, but I really do think you should be segmenting as much as possible. I've even seen it where maybe, if you have 5 total or 6 total, right, half of them have, a higher cost per click and the other half maybe don't. So kind of depends, and, making sure that you're also keeping all of the phrase in one ad group, keeping all of the broad in another ad group. Sometimes people mix them, and I think that's just a really easy way to kind of get confused as far as what is where.
Yeah.
So you want to be really intentional with like how you're actually setting everything up so that you're not missing anything.
Yeah.
Especially if you delve into seasonality and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. I'm like,
well, I was going to say something, but it's kind of the same thing. I was just going to say, like, the only time I've seen like phrase, exact, and broad go well, like being mixed in a campaign together, is if you're running on like a specific event that's coming up or something. That way you just have a campaign set for that event and you can turn it off when you're ready.
Definitely. Okay. What's required before running a campaign from Ali?
Like,
I don't think anything's required. Just don't be prohibited. Make sure that your products are actually eligible for advertising, and if they're not, figure out why. Right? Is it an adult strike? Is there a keyword in the back end or front end that's like trademarked or relating to like violence or anything like that? Really just want to make sure. Even like weight loss keywords sometimes can do this. So really making sure the product's not prohibited, and maybe just making sure that the listing is about 90% where you want it to be, right?
Yeah.
Not
have
required.
Your images. Right. Yeah, it's not really required, but have your images, have your text at least mostly fleshed out, because like Marissa was saying, you can pour as much money as you want to in this campaign. If it doesn't look pretty, no one's going to click on it. Customers are very visual.
Yeah. And that's even more so true, like for more expensive products, right? People are more willing to gamble on like a $10 product, but they're not really willing to gamble on like a $30 product with no reviews or social proof, right? So think about it like as if you were a customer.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Let's do this one from Kim. Hi, when do you decide you need to do a ranking campaign for a particular keyword? How do you track the change in rank? And do you do dynamic up and down, fixed, or down only? And do you bid extra?
So yes, no, and no. So ranking campaign for a particular keyword, how important is this to you? Is this a very important keyword? I mean, we run ranking campaigns for a very important keyword like all the time, just because we want to stay on top of that category. Are you just trying to get to the top of this to this keyword and then lean on your organic? I mean, that's what you need to decide there. How do you track your change in rank? Helium 10. I mean, that's what we use.
Yeah.
Now for dynamic up and down, fixed and down only, that's gonna be kind of dependent, I think. If you're trying to get to the top of a certain like keyword, it's going to be expensive. Do you bid extra for top of search? Sometimes. That's my answer. I mean, I've done it. Again, it depends. How important is this keyword to you, and how important is this keyword to your brand?
And how competitive is your niche, right? Are you neck and neck with 1 or 2 other competitors where that's necessary?
Yep.
Sometimes for a dynamic up and down, that's a case to not use that type. If your competitors know about you, you know about them, and you're kind of going neck and neck with each other, you're just going to drive, it's going to turn into a bidding war, essentially. It's not going to be profitable really for either of you, but some people, don't care and just want to win. And that's what's important. They don't want to be number two. So I think that's, largely going to depend on your budget, but also your goals. If you're really not in a super, competitive kind of space there, I would say you can do dynamic up and down and kind of, bid as it makes sense, but just be prepared to shell out a little bit more money there, especially on high traffic days, like a Prime Day or, Black Friday or something like that, right?
Yeah. Viral event, or those pyramid events, as we call them, if something happens. I mean, and also another thing to kind of keep in mind here is how diluted is your category and how big are the top names in your category, right? If you release like a drill or something, you're competing against like Black & Decker, who probably has a bunch of money. Or if you release like, shoes, right? You have to compete against all these categories that already have an established brand name, established presence, that own like a huge market share. So that's just something to keep in mind here.
We always ask people when they onboard with us, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being growth and 1 being profitable, like where are you falling on that spectrum, right? Are you like maybe a 5 where you want to make some money, but you also want to grow? Those metrics are all going to look very different for you. Some clients don't care if they're running 100% ACOS because it's worth it for them and their goals, because they're really only concerned with, having the visibility for a short amount of time or whatever it is for like a campaign that they're running. Really dependent on your goals here, Ken.
Yeah. I recently had a client that ran at like 200+% ACOS because they're just trying to storm the market, right, and make their presence known. And now, still early into their launch, but we're maintaining the same presence with like a 60% ACOS. Huge change there, right? And huge organic like foothold for them now. So how aggressive can you be? How aggressive do you want to be? And what's your market?
Definitely. Reviews, other than Vine and automatic messages to customers asking for reviews, are there any other tips to get reviews faster other than having great products, of course? I have one in my brain. Are you thinking the same one?
Probably not.
With a certain reporting tool that we use.
Oh, Merchant Spring?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it asks for it now, right?
Yeah. So Merchant Spring is a third-party connect that you can connect into your Amazon Seller Central account, and it gives some really high-level reporting metrics as far as like your best-selling SKUs, worst-selling, which ones you have the buy box on, etc. But there's a little tab in there that says automate reviews, and it actually works to make sure that every single customer who's making a purchase is getting that little email from Amazon that says, tell us about your experience, or were you happy with your recent purchase? You ever seen those emails? So those are automatic, and there's no way to send them to customers yourself, because obviously Amazon is very strict with reviews. But I've seen this be really successful. Lately, I have seen some reviews getting wiped for some clients, which has been kind of unfortunate. Have you seen that too?
Yeah, I've seen it in a couple of spots.
Where sometimes it's just like hundreds of reviews just get wiped by Amazon. And it's so frustrating because it takes a really long time to accumulate reviews, but there are ways to encourage people to keep, leaving them. We always kind of say, like, there are some people who just are not people that leave reviews. They never will. They never have. It's just not them. But there are some people who can kind of be convinced into it.
Yeah. And obviously don't go out of TOS because you don't want Amazon to punish you for this. Amazon's punishments are like so bad.
You can get banned. Like your whole account can get banned for review manipulation.
Yeah.
And sometimes it even just looks like, friends and family leaving reviews, unfortunately.
Don't do that.
Amazon can tell within a certain geographic location, right? They have IPs. Is everybody in your little town of 30,000 people all leaving reviews for the same product? There's probably a good chance that there's some review manipulation happening, right?
You said a little town of 30,000 people. I live in a town of 400 people. That was so wild to me.
Yikes.
but yeah, for real, don't do that kind of. Don't put product inserts and ask for reviews, because Amazon just has to see one of those and they'll lose their mind. I bring that up because I actually got one today. And it was just it was so
Or
silly.
they're like, oh, like submit a review for like a gift card or something like
No, they worded it a little bit more cleverly.
that. Okay.
It was more of like, you can help us grow by leaving reviews, and then they listed all of their social medias.
Okay.
Still wouldn't push the envelope on this, but
As part of that brand mastery like kind of class that I hosted, the advice was to kind of redirect to like an Instagram or Twitter or something like that, where you can have like an interaction with your customers privately. And from there, you can kind of ask them to leave a review. But you really have to be careful as far as like using Amazon's own networks to be, asking for feedback or reviews explicitly. It's not worth an account ban.
No,
it's just not. It's not. Okay. Best inspection company for product inspection from China. I'm not sure, honestly.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, if anybody has any suggestions that you want to leave in the comments, this might be a good Friday question. Jason might know, but I don't have a whole lot of experience with products being inspected from China. I know that you can import products like from China, but what are we inspecting for?
That's what I was going to say. Part of me wants to know what the reason is here, because I know you had that little tool you found where, like, if you're trying to get like a test done, you can find like your closest testing facility. If that's the reason, I mean, there's tools out there, but if you're just, I don't know why we're inspecting.
You might, still need to have that testing done in the United States. It's one thing to import it into the US, but it's another thing to actually have the child product safety stuff. That all has to be done here. I've had like magnet testing done within the United States. Anything like that. For the most part, the US does not care if you get it done in China. And you're obviously probably not going to be allowed to import anything that's like super dangerous from China into the US and get that through customs. But if you have any, suggestions in the comments, guys, or we can ask on Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, we have decor products, more than 100 ASINs with design variations. Should we add them into an ad group in the auto campaign?
All 100 ASINs? No, I would say no. So, I mean, if you're running like a general ad on a parentage, you can go down that route. But I'm sure if you have 100 different design variations, I can give you 100 different reasons why these need to have their own ad groups. Just based off that. I mean, you're gonna, again, don't make this overcomplicated and don't dilute your data to where it's going to be hard to make the optimization and changes that you need to do, like kind of like what we were describing earlier to the other question.
Yeah, I'd be interested how these are actually parented, because there's no way you have 100 ASINs all parented together on one listing.
Well, like I've seen it, like where that little drop down box rather than yeah.
But is that really like efficient? I've seen it done for like cosmetic companies and stuff
Depends.
like that, where they have a lot of different colors. But sometimes, I mean, just seeing a drop down versus seeing like boxes with swatches, like that's entirely different for conversion.
Yeah, because Jason and I had something similar to this, a question similar to this with like someone who had like bed sheets, and they had like 20 different colors with like 5 different sizes on each, and eventually that gets confusing for your consumer. It's going to mess up mess with your conversion rate.
And your reviews too. If people are returning things or giving you like negative customer experience. Sometimes the best way to organize stuff like this is to, parent by size or by color, or, if you're selling like queen size mattresses, like just do queen and one parentage. But then what you can do is you can have one A+ content that connects everything together, and you can encourage cross-selling via your product grid. So you can have all of the queen, like, and have that link in your product grid, and then have the king, and that kind of thing.
Same thing for your brand story. Cross-selling your brand story as well. It's very important.
Yeah. So I guess to answer your question, do not put 100 ASINs in one auto campaign and let it rip and see what it does. Segment that out, but do it with intention. So figure out, try to have it mimic how you have it parented on Amazon itself, right? And then based on sales data, if you have any already, determine, what is the best selling variation out of that parentage, and maybe just, advertise on that one. See if the other variations kind of pick up in sales, or you can do the opposite if you want to focus more on the ones that are slow sellers and just advertise on those. You can kind of get away with advertising less and saving a few dollars, being that everything is on one product detail page and they share BSRs and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And, like she's saying, your auto campaign is going to be different for each of these like designs, right? I'm going to assume that you don't have 100 ASINs. Like rereading this, you probably don't have 100 ASINs within the same variation. I'm going to guess that you just have more than 100 ASINs, and each with different variations, and those may be parented in their own separate way. If you're selling baskets and you're selling some kind of wall decor, and you put those both in the same auto campaign, you're going to get conflicting information, right? Because wall decor is not going to have the same keywords as your baskets. You're going to have some that work across your brand, sure, especially if you're fulfilling like a specific style. But apart from that, two completely different groups of data here.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Looks like we did have a suggestion. Services of VTrust. Shout out VTrust, not sponsored. Maybe go check them out. And then, what are the 3 most efficient actions you can take when you want to optimize your ads for lower tacos?
Ooh. Okay, so we want to focus more on our organic sales.
Like total cost.
You need to find your high ACOS campaigns and start pulling back on those a bit. That would be the first thing that I would do if we're going to focus on tacos, and find out why. Obviously, find out why they have like a very high ACOS. Are these branded keywords? Are you in a very competitive category and everyone's targeting your brand? To lower your tacos, you need to focus on organic. Cut bleeding targets. Cut something that hasn't had sales in 30 days. If you need to focus on like a tacos now,
are you advertising on every single product that you have?
Yeah.
Does it make sense to do that?
Right. Yeah. Cannibalization.
Yeah.
No sales within, even if this is like a dire need, no sales within 15 days may even be a choice that you want to make, right? You can tailor, we have suggestions, right? But you can tailor it kind of more to your personal experience, but definitely bleeding targets if it's not making you any sales.
Yeah. We've had clients, if you remember the one, I think they were like an interior decor client where they had like 50,000 SKUs, right? Yeah. They were kind of the mind like, hey, not every single one is going to be a winner. It's okay. If this isn't working within 2 weeks, turn it off, get rid of it. Yeah. So having that in mind, right? The saying, right, is that one product, if you're lucky, like really takes off, one breaks even, one's a loss. Like if you're launching 3 products at once, right? Very unlikely that everything's going to be a superstar. Just kind of the way it is, right? Yeah. So really try to focus on what's working for you. And when we do, onboard new clients, part of what we do is like an ad audit as far as, keeping what's working for you, getting rid of what's not, and trying to find more opportunities. Yeah. So if you're trying to lower your tacos, you're not trying to grow. You're really just trying to be profitable at that point, right? So agree with the cutting bleeding targets, and probably some exploratory campaigns, to be honest with you, because you're really not trying to explore if you're trying to cut your tacos. You're trying to mainly be profitable.
Yeah.
I see a lot of kind of disgruntledness as far as, oh, like, well, I do want to grow, but I only want to have a 10% tacos, and you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Right.
Sorry to say, it just doesn't work like that. I had a client last week that was just kind of like, we want to cut our ad spend by, half. Oh, but why did all of our sales, like, what, why did we lose $20,000 in sales? Well,
I've seen this a lot lately.
Unfortunately, there usually is a direct correlation with that sometimes happening, and there's going to be a little recovery time associated with that. But it's all about what you're trying to do, right?
Okay.
They personally, they were just not trying to spend $40,000 in one singular month, and I understand that as somebody who does not have that on hand to shell out. I get it, but something to keep in mind, right?
Yep. Well, and I will also say, to the point, you maybe want to lower your tacos just because you don't have. Maybe it's profitability is okay, and it's okay to have. Maybe your tacos is like 50%, and you want to drop it to like 15. That's when you need to focus on the organic side. So the 3 most efficient actions: you take PPC, cut your bleeding targets, check for cannibalization. In multiple ways, right? You could be advertising on multiple variations. You could be advertising on, say, maybe, kind of we mentioned this earlier. Are you advertising for the same keyword in multiple campaigns? Because then you're just fighting against yourself and bidding against yourself too. But lower tacos can also be attributed to higher organic growth. So check what your competition is doing. Do you need to increase your CTR? Do you need to lower your price a little bit and be more competitive? It kind of goes both ways here.
Yeah, definitely. You can lower your tacos by increasing your organic sales too. That's the more positive way to look at it. My way was more, cutting costs and being more profitable. But that's true too.
Yeah.
It's
a balance of both.
That if you're looking in your search query performance report and you are showing up for all of your like branded keywords, there's probably a good chance, and there's a lot of search volume on your own keywords for your brand. There's probably a good chance you don't really need to advertise that much on them, honestly. I've seen it where we had a client that completely just turned off ads one day. They decided, you know what, I don't want to spend any more money on it. And we all were thinking, oh, sales are going to tank dramatically and it's going to be a whole thing. They were fine. They did lose some sales, but their branding and their presence was so strong in their niche that they were able to still make sales, and still be profitable without that extra cost because of their brand presence.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're showing up at the top of the first page, both organically and sponsored, you can pull back on those ads a little bit and lower your tacos.
Definitely. Do you have a hard stop, Joe?
No.
Okay. We can finish up then. I don't either, I don't think. This is a long one. It like covers my face.
That's awesome.
I have to like sit up straight now.
It's funny.
Last your time. All right.
All right.
What are your thoughts on sponsored brand campaigns and sponsored display campaigns? I tried to run both, but my ACOS went way too high for that campaign. While sponsored products, all ACOS and other things were okay. Additionally, how many keywords should I add in an exact campaign? Like my product is a lot of keywords, but I've heard we shouldn't add more than 5 keywords on a campaign. And I also have a lot of products. If I try separating all campaigns like that, I'll have a lot of campaigns. That makes sense.
There's kind of a lot to kind of break down here. Yeah. So one of the things that kind of stood out to me is how many keywords should I add in my exact campaigns? Don't like over. This is gonna be my opinion. Marissa, step in here if you wanna argue against it. But don't like over invest in exact campaigns. I mean, the best keywords for exact campaigns are gonna be your long tail. So if you're for example, if we're selling like shoes and you have an exact bid on shoes, it's not going to get anywhere near, like, you may not be just, I mean, you're not just selling just shoes, right? What kind of shoe are you selling? And that's where you should focus your exact campaigns, the more specific keywords. That was kind of the first thing that jumped out. You said you have a lot of keywords, but shouldn't have more than 5 keywords. You know, exact campaigns should be long tail, then break it down by that. Don't overinvest in exact.
Yeah, I agree there. And yeah, bulk sheets are going to be your best friend here.
Yeah.
You don't have to do everything manually by hand, right? Bulk sheets are great for a lot of this, as far as like making optimizations and managing a whole lot of campaigns and stuff like that, past initial setup and that kind of thing. So don't feel like you have to do it all, and don't feel like you need to, go after every single keyword that you've ever thought of ever. Be strategic, right? I've seen a lot of people who, if you have a lot of campaigns, chances are that you've accumulated them over a long period of time, right? You shouldn't have like 100 campaigns the first like month or two you're selling. It just doesn't make sense, right? Find out what works, find out what seasonal events to go after and what seasonal campaigns to create. Figure out where you stand within your niche, figure out what complementary products go with your products so you can show up in more areas that aren't just you directly competing with people who are just like you. A good example, maybe if you're selling, I don't know, what are we selling?
My brain's stuck on shoes. You go with whatever.
If we're selling shoes, right? Are we also selling, depending on like if they're heels, right? Are we also selling like going out outfits, like skirts or like club wear or something like that? Does that make sense to be positioned in those for those keywords, right? I always challenge people to think a little bit outside of the box, right? Good example was the Gran Turismo movie just came out. So I was like, hey, like any car clients, and we do have a few, right? The search volume for seasonal events, if you look on Helium 10, crazy town. When there are cultural events happening, right? People are inherently interested in them. People search how they live their lives, right? Marketing is so tied to your daily life and what's going on in the world, and are you going to go see this movie, or going to go see the Barbie movie, need a pink outfit, let's go to Amazon to go get one. There are so many opportunities, may not be long-term forever, but doesn't hurt to jump on the bandwagon and, try to absorb some of that velocity, especially if it's, if a lot of other people aren't thinking that creatively and aren't doing that as well. So, you're not reinventing the wheel, but you are kind of going after some additional opportunities where you're relevant, right? It's all about relevancy. It's all about thinking, what is my target audience doing right now? If your target audience is like young girls, they're probably going to go see Taylor Swift.
I was going to mention that.
And going to go see the Barbie movie, maybe even like the same weekend, So how are you positioning for that? Jewelry clients, right? They had a bunch of different colors. So I think the easiest way to go after that is, birthstones, purple for February, or, topaz for November, or, but you can also look at it from, okay, well, Taylor Swift has 10 eras, right? We can do Fearless for yellow, or we can do Speak Now for purple, or an Eras tour, and biggest tour in the entire world ever.
Yeah.
It was announced.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities there that you wouldn't think about. For example, we have a client that sells lunchboxes. They have a clear one, and festivals want your backpacks, your carry-ons, that kind of stuff to be clear so they can see what's in it. You wouldn't think to normally like target to that if they're like normally targeting like construction workers or something like that, but whole different demographic, but it's definitely a viable demographic.
Yeah, you can't go into like any venue nowadays without a clear bag. So that's not your fault. That's not anybody else's fault, but you can take advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah. So it's not your fault, but it is your opportunity.
Exactly. Okay, so I think we can wrap up there.
Sure.
We have any plugs or anything like that? I will say we can plug the My Amazon Guy website real quick. Here we are. Lovely website we have here. Small announcement. I am doing coaching calls now, so I am on the page. Voila. With Kristen and Jason and Steven for email questions. But you can ask me anything related to brand registry, growing your account. So like those strategies that we kind of just talked about surrounding like cultural events and stuff like that. And PPC, because I do this AMA every week. So that's my shameless plug of the day. But yeah, I hope everybody has a fabulous day. Thank you again, Joe, for joining me today.
Of course.
I will be on vacation next week. So likely someone else will be running the PPC AMA. But it was lovely seeing everybody. And thanks so much for joining. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.